Today we'll be making a delicious and easy tarragon chicken with a side of steamed asparagus and honey glazed carrots. And for dessert, I'll be making bright and sunny oranges topped with delicious caramelized zest.
So, first off, we're going to need to start by peeling and chopping the shallot and the carrot. I'll be honest, I've never actually used shallots before. I've never actually made this this dish before. So we're gonna see how it turns out. Huh, they have sections. Interesting. Okay. And we're just going to put this into the pot, and into the pot it goes. So now I'm going to be chopping up some garlic. So now I'm going to be browning the chicken to give it a nice coating that will help it to hold the sauce. So I'm going to turn on the stove to high. I'm just going to add some butter. And I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil as well to give it some flavor. And once that melts, we can begin. That right there is the color that you want on the outside. Normally when browning chicken, you would coat it in a layer of flour and seasoning first, but my recipe doesn't call for this, so I'm just following what the recipe says. But if you want to add a flour coating to it, by all means do so. So now I'm just going to move these into the pot and then take the rest of the chicken and put it in the pan and do the same. I'll just rearrange them later. So now that the chicken is all browned and it's in the pot, I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper and some herbs and spices. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of freshly ground black pepper. Want lots of it. And I do mean lots. And a little bit of salt. 2 bay leaves, just in the pot, just to give it some nice flavor. A little bit of dill. Some thyme. And last but not least, some tarragon. And you don't want to be shy with it because it is the herb that the dish is named for. Now, to make sure that the chicken stays nice and juicy, I'm going to add some beef broth into the pot. This will also be the base for the sauce later. And finally, just a little bit of white wine. And that will be all. Now just have to wait for the oven to finish preheating and we can put it in. Okay, so now that the oven is preheated, it's time to put the chicken in. So now I'm going to be prepping the sides. So I'm going to have some nice crisp sautéed asparagus with salt and pepper, and I'm also going to have some honey glazed carrots. So starting off, I'm just going to cut up the asparagus. I'm gonna cut the ends off. Might want a better knife for this, because I don't feel like sharpening these knives. Alright, now I'll just cut them. I think I'm going to cut them in half because I want them fairly long still. I won't be cooking these until around the time that the chicken comes out of the oven. So I'll just put that off to the side. And now I'm going to peel and cut some carrots. Okay, so now I'm going to get started on the honey glazed carrots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil just to help them cook and give them a nice flavor. Just a little bit, you don't want a ton. And now I'm going to add some salt and some pepper. Once again, don't be shy with the pepper. It's very nice. The salt will just counteract the sugar and give it a nice, like, sweet and salty flavor mixed in. Now I'm going to add the honey. And you'll want to be fairly generous with the honey. Don't be stingy. Add as much as you think that you need. I'm not actually following the recipe for this. I'm just kind of winging it. Cooking is an art, not a science. And I'm just going to add some herbs and spices to give it nice flavor. Some tarragon. Some dill. Just a little bit though. A teeny, tiny bit of ginger. Just a little bit. You don't want it to be too overpowering because ginger's a very strong spice. A little bit goes a long way. And last but not least, just a little bit of thyme. You can use the same spices that you used on the chicken. I love the smell of thyme. So I'm just going to mix that around. And really, depending on what kind of flavors you want, you can use just about any spices or herbs. Lots of things go nicely with honey. And that's all. So we don't want it to be too soft. We want the carrots to have a little bit of bite. So I'm going to wait a couple minutes to put them in the oven. So I'll just put these to the side over here so I don't forget about them. Okay, so now it's time to put the carrots into the oven. Just gonna have a look at the chicken. Oh, that looks delicious. So now I'm getting ready to cook the asparagus, and it's very, very simple. All you have to do is just melt some butter on the pan and add the asparagus and whatever seasonings you like. And you just want to cook it on medium heat. You don't want it to burn, especially since I'm doing it at the same time as the chicken sauce. So I'm going to have a lot going at once. And that's a lot for me because I cannot multitask to save my life. So just want to get the butter melted. And then just toss in the asparagus. And you just want to add a little bit of olive oil to give it some flavor. So because this is going to have to take a little longer than it normally would, I'm just cooking it on low heat. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And some pepper. And I'm going to leave it uncovered as well. So I'm going to have to take out the chicken now and begin the process of making the sauce. That looks delicious. I'm just going to remove the chicken from the pot so that I can make the sauce. So I'm just going to try a little bit of the chicken, see how it tastes. That is really good. I'm just going to turn the heat on the stove. So now I'm just reducing the juices into the pan into a nice sauce. So I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit because that's starting to boil. And I'm just going to add a little bit of cornstarch to help it thicken. Don't need a ton of it, just a bit, if it'll get off the spoon. It smells delicious. Now I'm just going to stir around my asparagus. Don't want it to get too soft, so I'm going to reduce the heat a little bit. But it seems to be turning out quite nicely. Now I just want the cornstarch to dissolve, and little by little it will begin to thicken. Just going to add some more tarragon to it, give it that nice flavor. It has such a nice smell. The sauce is going to have such a nice, lovely, garlicky, tarragon-y, oniony flavor. It's going to be delicious. Now I want this to reduce by half, so that might take a minute or two. But just gotta be patient. I'm just waiting for the sauce to cool a little bit. I've turned the heat down to low because I'm going to add some cream. And the reason why you want the temperature lower is if it's boiling while you add the cream will curdle. So you want to keep it low for this part. But it's going to make it super creamy and delicious, and I'm so excited. You can use heavy cream, whipping cream. You can even use like sour cream or creme fraiche. Okay, just a little bit. You just want to mix it. That looks so good. It's almost like a gravy. So once you've tossed the chicken in the sauce and you have the sauce to the right consistency, it's ready to serve.
Man, that's really good.
So now for the dessert, I'm going to be making oranges with caramelized zest. So to start off, I'm going to take a couple of oranges, and these are really good oranges. I think they might be blood oranges. I ate one earlier today and it was a darker color, and it had like a really sweet, strong flavor. So I think these will be excellent for this dish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel some of the zest off of the oranges. And then I'm going to julienne it, which just means cutting it into thin strips. It's very convenient that this is a crappy peeler and it's not going very deep, because you want to have as little of this white part on the inside as possible. So the zest of one orange is probably enough, but if I need more, I will peel some more. So now I'm just julienning my peel into nice thin little strips. And once I'm done, I'm going to blanch them 3 times to make them nice and chewy and to get rid of any bitter flavor. All that's left will be a nice orange zesty flavor. So I've already julienned my orange zest and put it into a pot of water, which I'm going to bring to a boil because I'm going to blanch the orange peel 3 times to get rid of any unpleasant bitter flavor that you kind of get with orange peel. And I've also sliced the oranges and removed the white outer rind so that they're these nice little round star shapes. So I'm going to bring this to a boil and then drain it and then refill it and boil it again, rinse and repeat. And we're going to blanch them again. Just going to blanch them one more time. Last time. And now it's time to do the sugar. So I'm just going to put these off to the side. Maybe turn that down. So I'm going to start off by adding, what is this? Half a cup of sugar to the pot. And about half a cup of water, just enough to dissolve it. And I'm going to bring that to a boil. It's really fun to watch sugar melt, but you gotta be careful with it because it burns so quickly. It's also really hard to resist the temptation to stir it, but stirring it isn't always good. So the caramel is starting to get a nice golden color, and that's exactly what we want. Because if it's too clear and too light, it won't have that nice slight bitterness that caramel often has. And it'll just be too sweet and too watery. So now that the caramel is the color that I want, I'm going to add the zest to it. And it's gonna bubble a little bit. Oh, don't burn. Please don't burn. It's a good idea to have an ice bath on hand just to cool it so that it doesn't continue to cook in the pot. But because I have absolutely no foresight, I didn't do that. So I'm just gonna wait for it to cool a minute, and it has a nice, sweet orange smell to it. It smells absolutely divine. Once it's cool enough, I'm going to spoon it over onto the oranges and it will be ready to serve. So you can see that it has a nice glossy golden color, and it's just coating the the rind just perfectly. So now it's ready to pour onto the oranges, just in little bits. And it looks like somebody stole an orange. I wonder who that could be. Mac. Now I feel that it's important to tell you exactly how to clean the sugar out of the pot, because once it dries, it is nearly impossible. So what you do is you just fill the pot up with water. Look at that. That's what happens when it cools. You put it back onto the stove and you add a little bit of baking soda and just allow it to boil or simmer. It doesn't have to be a complete boil, but it will lift the sugar right off and almost dissolve it into the water. It makes it a lot easier to clean. Here you go, buddy. Tell me what you think.
That looks nice. It's very sweet and caramelly.
Do you like it?
Yes, it's very yummy.
There you have it, tarragon chicken with a side of steamed asparagus and honey glazed carrots, and bright and sunny oranges topped with delicious caramelized zest.